Psalm 100 is an ideal psalm for today, what we call American Thanksgiving Day. It's a Thanksgiving psalm, but it gives no indication of circumstances. In other words, it's timeless. It recognizes that God is faithful to all generations, not just ours, not just the season that we've just experienced. It's also not meant for certain people only. It's a universal call to gratitude. Listen to verse 1. Make a joyful noise to the Lord, all the earth. And its formula is simple. Those who know the Lord will be thankful people. Without a saving knowledge of God, thankfulness is always circumstantial. Happiness over nice weather or a large tax return. But genuine thankfulness is theological. Make a joyful noise to the Lord, verse 1 says. Proper thanksgiving requires that we know the Lord in at least 5 ways, according to this psalm. First, know that the Lord is God, verse 3 says. As the only eternal creator God, perfect in all his attributes, he alone is worthy of the title God and of our devotion. Second, the Lord made us. We must know that, as verse 3 says. Now, the writer seems not to be referring to creation, but to God's recreation of a people, his making a people for his own possession, as 1 Peter 2:9 says. So we must know the Lord not simply as creator, but as the sacrificial lamb and as the good shepherd. Third, we must know that the Lord is good, verse 5 says. God's goodness needs no qualification. He isn't mostly good or sometimes good. He's altogether good. Fourth, we must know that the Lord is love. Verse 5, his steadfast love endures forever. We would not know love if not for God. John says it this way in 1 John 4, verses 16 and 7. God is love, and all love is from God. Fifth, the Lord is faithful. His faithfulness endures to all generations, verse 5. So what does it look like for people who know God like this to thank him? Well, verse 1 says that thankful people should shout God's majesty. The joyful noise we should make to the Lord, one writer says, is the equivalent in worship to the homage shout or fanfare to a king. He references Psalm 98, verse 6, where the writer says we should shout to the Lord our King. Thankful people then also serve God with gladness, as verse 2 puts it. Believers have this testimony from Psalm 92, verse 4, "For you, O Lord, have made me glad by your work." Further, thankful people seek God's presence. Verse 4 says, "Enter into God's gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise." Let's come into God's special presence among his worshiping people as often as we can. But let's also live always before his face. Finally, thankful people speak their thanks. Thanksgiving is far more than words, but it must be spoken. And so let's strive to live in such a way that because of our reverent knowledge of God, the words of thanks are hardly necessary, but cannot be restrained. Here is Psalm 100. A psalm for giving thanks. Make a joyful noise to the Lord, all the earth. Serve the Lord with gladness. Come into his presence with singing. Know that the Lord, he is God. It is he who made us, and we are his. We are his people and the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him. Bless his name. For the Lord is good. His steadfast love endures forever, and his faithfulness to all generations.